two niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins, that's me, and Justin Brown for your movie needs. Medium popcorn. Woo! You haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it. Spoil it in your face. That's your warning. So if you get pissed, it's all your fault. Woo-hoo. Woo-hoo. Have you ever been devoted to something that you wouldn't die for it? Hi, everybody. I'm Eddie Collins.
This is Justin Brown. I have been devoted, but I didn't die, and that's why I'm here to talk on this podcast.
This ain't a musical podcast. Y'all know that we can't improvise that well, but yeah, we are talking about J.D. Dillard's movie Devotion, starring Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell, in another Aviator film right after Top Gun Maverick.
Yep,
that had to be wild. But yeah. So this is based on a true story. This is based on a true story of two gentlemen, two naval officers, Jesse Brown and Tom Hundler, during the Korean War, which is a very, they don't really talk about the Korean War too much.
Well, it's funny because I wrote down, like, the Korean War is really the Forgotten War, and it's actually known as the Forgotten War, but it's definitely the Forgotten War. And to the point where I can't even lock down exactly what that conflict was about. I know a lot of it was about the spread of communism, because like, you know, the Soviets do have are part of the Korean War. The MiG fucking aircraft fighter jet was like a monster at that time, because I think back
are we talking about the Kosar or something else?
What do you mean?
Because the Kosar is the planet they're using when they go, and remember when they crash, they're like, we have to destroy that so they don't get access to it.
No, the MiG was when they went to blow up that
the bridge,
the bridges. That fighter jet that was after them. That's a MiG. The MiG was fucking, like, it was like, oh, that motherfucker's bad. That was like one of the first like fighter jets. Like these planes were different, because then like F-18s and, you know, 14s and all that stuff started to come, which is basically kind of derivative of the MiG. Now, again, like, I actually did study about, because I did a report, something like that. So I did like a bunch of things like on these planes and things like that, but it was years ago. So like some of my facts may be a little off. You know, guys, if I'm saying something wrong, feel free, shoot us something on you know, a voicemail 347-508-0978, or just, you know, shoot us a comment, you know, or email, something like that, you know, and we'll brush that up on a later episode. But like, from what I understand, the MiGs were like, and now the Soviet MiGs were actually like top tier, and everyone was really afraid of them. And then, you know, that kind of spawned America to kind of step up our fucking Air Force.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because Tatiana found out not too long ago that, like, I guess who was in the Korean War? Who in your family was in the Korean War? Her grandfather actually, like, was a mechanic, right, with the plane in the Air Force and stuff like that. So he probably worked on the planes that are in this film to an extent.
Pretty dope.
Which is interesting. I mean, there's some parts in this movie that are incredibly inspiring, but it's all told. And this is, I don't know if J.D. Dillard had a lot of control over Final Cut, but the pacing was not good in this movie. I thought it was an incredibly slow movie. For something that had some actions, fight, you know, fighter jet scenes and stuff, like, it was hard for me to kind of power through this a little bit. Once I realized it was a true story, and once I saw where it was kind of heading, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up, and then I was like, just so I could prepare myself for what the ending was going to be. And it was like, God damn it, this is a rough way to end a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
This was this is not a fun movie to watch. But
So a funny thing was, the ending of the film was spoiled for me
okay,
by I just happened to be watching the news, and they did a story, and they had the real life Tom Huddleston, Hudler,
Hudler, yeah.
Hudner,
Yeah,
yeah, I
played
know
by Glenn Powell. Yeah.
I know. They talked about him because he died in like 2015 or something like that.
Oh, okay. So
Um,
recently, not too long
yeah.
ago.
So
Got it.
and they talked, and he spoke about how, you know you know that what happened with Jesse and everything like that, how he stayed
Got it.
there, and I
Yep.
was just like, God damn it. And I was like, I wanted to see this film, like, fuck, like I wish
Yeah.
I didn't see that thing, but also to get a little bit more context about their relationship and things like that it is important.
Yep. In the chat, Yuvia said her partner Spencer's grandfather was in the Korean War as well. He was originally in the Air Force, got in a plane crash on a flight training, and got stranded on an island. It was a wild story. I mean, that one dude, when he's trying to land on the ship, he crashes in the water and he dies. That was
Yeah.
crazy. Because I forgot this is before they had ejection seats.
Yeah.
And so that's why, unfortunately at the end, and we're kind of jumping all over the place, but Jesse gets stuck in that plane. He can't get out.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was going to die, right? Like I didn't realize, like, because it was so dark the way it was shot, kind of go into what we were talking about in our Woman King episode about cinematography, being able to shoot black people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that the front of the plane had got gotten into his thigh or whatever. So he was bleeding out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, when the impact happened, the plane actually went down on his legs, and his legs got trapped. So as he's trying to pull out, he's just tearing flesh. So like, yeah, he was just, his legs were lodged in there, and yeah, obviously that's not where you want to be.
I mean, back in this day, bro, that had to be. And Tatiana and I were talking about this when we were watching the movie, like, because this takes place in the early 1950s. Like, imagine, and I think First Man talked about this a little bit with like the first like space launch and stuff like that. Aviation is such a terrifying prospect. Like, how do they convince people to be like, yeah, you're gonna go in this thing and you're gonna go up there? Like, you know what I mean? Like when he's crashing, you can tell he's like, it's definitely 50-50. I'm gonna live.
Yeah.
Like, that before you even take off. You're like, I might die in this flight, right?
So,
even if it's an exercise, I might die.
So this is the other thing. It's like,
it's terrifying.
You have to, like, in my mind, watching the film, I'm just like, why didn't he just, like, you open up your HUD, right? The glass.
I didn't know you could do that, by the way. I thought the air pressure would be too much that would fuck you up if you did that.
No, but listen, like, I mean, at that point you're going to crash anyways. And also he's kind of they're letting the plane glide.
Yeah.
They're gliding at that point. So they're not using, you're not hitting those G forces and shit like that, which I don't think that
these you don't want to do
at
that
time
if you're gonna crash, like, you don't want to accelerate. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So they're kind of sailing at this point. And like, you just like, you take the thing up, and then you get up, and then you just like jump and let the plane go, and then you pull a chute. But it also seemed like they didn't have chutes.
Nope.
At this time. So like, because, and also those cockpits were very small. And so it's a different feel.
Yeah.
But like, I remember my dad talking about, like, because especially in the South, where, a lot of men, or, black men, white men would go into the military. And it's like, you got those airborne guys, it's like, so like, those were bad fucking dudes, jumping out of fucking planes and, landing down to fight and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, those are some hard fucking guys, right? It's like, you get into a bar fight, and they were like, some of those guys in there is just like, you needed about 2 or 3 niggas. You needed about 3 or more niggas to jump on. You know what I'm saying? Because their training was pretty intense. And I'm just like, but like, those guys were like doing the airborne. They were jumping in like, I guess out of these, large carrier jets and things like that. It's just like, so they had packs, but then I start thinking about, like, okay, but if they're in this, those packs were probably huge back in the day. So you couldn't fly with that shit. Like, that's fucking, like, it's nuts. It's like, oh, this thing is available, but not for you, bro. If you go down, you're going down.
Yeah, I kind of wish they had talked more about that. I mean, like, for some reason, I assumed that this movie was going to talk a lot about Jesse's experience being, the first black, like, person doing this stuff, like in the squadron. And besides, like, having that menacing group kind of antagonizing him here and there, you didn't really hear his perspective on, like, not just the pressures of being that. I mean, obviously, like, the black crew on the ship, they all chipped in to buy him that Rolex, which actually got me a little teary eyed. That was a beautiful moment, because I'm like, that's very inspiring, but also it just increases the pressure that he already feels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when he was doing the test, he had to come back around because he was fucking up. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much pressure on him.
Well, it's not the fact that he was fucking up.
Well,
it's the fact that he has an issue.
Yes.
So all right. So
I imagine that's anxiety, right? That's like before it was like diagnosed for what it was.
He said he can't, like, I guess he was losing his eyesight. He said he can't see. So he has So he has to but he also said he couldn't see the nose of the plane. So it was hard. It was harder for him. But he's like, so I have to go off of the direction of the people in the tower to kind of help me out, to land. But it's like, because of his experience in the past in the military and like how they treated him, and so it was like, they made him take the test 10 times, and they added weights to his fucking gear and things like that. They basically tried to drown him. It's like, and he kept on getting out. It's like, and they told him, like, niggas can't swim, you'll never fly, and all that kind of stuff. He couldn't trust them. And like, that's like, there's that reality there. And that's what I wanted to see more of. That's the thing that I think that this movie missed on us, is like, give us a little bit more of that backstory. Don't tell us, show us. I don't like flashbacks, especially in these time frames, but like, we needed some of that, or even cut down more of him on the ship with Tom, and then like give us more of his backstory leading into all of this.
Yeah, because even the scenes with him and Tom, like, while they were effective, especially that scene where Tom does the report where Jesse's gone back, destroyed the rest of the bridge, so their mission is successful, and Tom essentially like gets it labeled as, like, in his report, it implies that Jesse was insubordinate, which he was. He did go against orders, but now Jesse's like, I will never go beyond the rank of Einstein, right? Like, I can never be promoted, because this goes about even our commander now. And so Tom feels guilty about that. He tries to do he tries to do like little fixes with getting the other crew members. One of them played by Joe Jonas, by the way, which is incredibly distracting. And then he's like, that's not going to do anything for me. Like, what did you expect to happen? It's weird to have a movie that has two leads played by decent actors. Jonathan Majors, who's like, he's going to have a phenomenal year between what I've heard about this bodybuilder movie that debuted at Sundance, and obviously King the Conqueror. He's going to have and Creed 3. He's going to have a monster year. He's going to have a crazy year. It was weird that we really got no character development from either one of them. Like, we got more character development about Jesse through his wife than we did to actually Jesse. And even there was points where it was like, clearly Tom thinks that he might be troubled because of him talking out loud, doing every hateful thing that's ever been said to him. Because for me, I'd be like, that's a mentally unhinged person. And the bodybuilder movie that Jonathan Majors in is called Magazine Dreams. Thank you, Yuvia. But you know what I mean? Like, when he was doing that stuff in the mirror, I would be like, yo.
What's going on? But like, but then, and that's the thing.
That was actually sad too, by the way.
Yes, is extremely, extremely sad. But it also just like, that was a way to give us a clue into more of the trauma that he went through. But like, we didn't explore that enough. We needed actually more of that to get give us a kind of insight off of who he was, at this time, and like where he came from. Because if not, he just seems like a crazy nigga. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to somebody who's really been through some really fucking hardened shit, and like, he's trying to cope with that and just and move on and move past, while also having a distrust for a system which is put in place in order to help him, but he can't trust that system because the system has already failed him time and time and time again. So like, which is, you know, being black in America, but also for this film and for the military, it's like people need to realize how shitty the military was to people of color, and not just black people, to, you know, Hispanic people, to Asian people. It's like, especially with the world wars, where they were basically like, you're probably, you're probably a spy for the Japanese, or, you know, all of this stuff. Like, there's so much shit that was going on at this time that people don't talk about. And also, with my briefs, like, in 2004, and dealing with racism in the military, I'm just like, bro, like, I'm surprised that niggas even want to be a part of this shit.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse was the first black aviator in the U.S. Navy, and besides a few comments here and there, you wouldn't know that. Like, for me, I was almost like, I did my own research and looking up to it into him, because I don't think, and I don't know, maybe that was the creative decision behind it, not to explore the pressure of that. It's kind of implied, but you don't really. I feel like, to your point, the Army, like, he would have faced way more resistance from everyone around him. Like, his commander is like really empathetic and understanding. Like, you know, when he dies, like, they're all very emotional and stuff like that. And I'm not saying they wouldn't be, but at the same time, like, during the ship in 1950 something, he's the only black aviator. He's getting harassed all the time. Like, I feel like, and maybe you don't want to dwell on that, but he's going through a lot of shit just without provoking it himself through his book of memories that are just zingers against himself. It's like a roast book. It's fucking terrifying.
So, I mean, and mind you, it's like, oh yeah, well, these guys are in the military, and, you know, they're stand-up men. No, they're not. A lot of them are from the deep fucking South. Let's be totally honest. A lot of them are from rural, Midwest and things like that, where racism is at its peak in the 1950s and stuff like that. Especially,
were they based at the beginning before they go into the ship?
Rhode Island, which is not a good place for black people to this very day.
That's what I was like.
Now, mind you, this is after World War II, right? So this is just after World War II, where now you have black men who fought in the war, who came back with money because of the GI Bills and things like that, who are also being denied jobs, denied housing, and things like that, after they just fought for the freedom of America and things like that. So, like, this is a time where the country was not kind to men of color. To black men specifically at this time, because America. So like, you gotta understand that, like, that it has to be put in the context. It's like he didn't have a good time on that ship, and probably the people who work closely with him, they learned that, like, they learned to put that stuff aside. Because, like, and that's,
they clearly been working with him for a long time before Tom arrived.
Not even, you take that out of there, because like, a long time is in military life could be fucking a month. But like, when it really comes down to, is like, the way you train and the way you get to know people and respect them is because you and even just training alone, it's shared trauma. They traumatize you on on this is on the end from the actual military, and then you're traumatized by the fact that you're going to this place where you can actually be murdered at any point, and it brings you together as one, because you realize that all the exterior shit that's going on outside of the country doesn't mean anything, and we need to do whatever we have to do to come home alive. And if you, black person, is going to help me come home alive, it's like, bro, I don't give a fuck what's happening. Like, right now, you're my boy. Right. So, like,
not in that terminology, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
So, like,
I got that again. This is all from Jesse's wife, who was played by want to shout out this actress's name because
Christina Jackson.
Christina Jackson. She did a great job. I think of filling in the blanks that we were getting, because she tells Tom, she's like, just be with him. Because at the end, he's like, I'm sorry I wasn't able to save him. She's like, I didn't ask you to save him. I asked you to be with him.
Yeah.
Be by his side. Because that's what he says, like when Tom tries to make a right with the report. He's like, can you just be my wingman? Like, just look out, make sure I do the best you can to make sure I come back alive. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, but it was frustrating because you do have a great actor in Jonathan Majors, who, by the way, Ali in the chat said Jonathan Majors is winning something this year. I agree. I am incredibly impressed by where he took his career after The Last Black Man in San Francisco. I did not see the trajectory he's taken from that performance. Like, I think I was probably like in the smallest group in saying that I wasn't the biggest fan of that performance, but since then he's definitely grown like on me and like really impressed me with his commitment and his approach, because he's also not too pompous. He's also very confident in himself, which I think is something that we haven't really seen from particularly Black men in a way that is palpable, like palatable, not palpable, palatable. Because like I remember when Ye used to, especially with college dropout late registration, he would be so arrogant, and people were like, "Oh, he's such an arrogant dude." I'm like, yeah, but if you think about all the shit he went through, like he kind of like has the right to be. But then you realize, oh, some of that might have been mental illness and like just unhinged behavior.
This weird God complex.
But like when you watch interviews, and even when I interviewed Jonathan Majors, he is very confident. Like especially now that he's in this ripped shape and stuff. He's probably like, someone come to me, someone try to step to me, come on.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen.
And Jonathan Majors like 33 years old.
He's young. Yeah, he's young, man. And as Kang, I don't know if you see this on Twitter. People are all about Kang. They're like, Kang can kill all the Avengers. I'm good. Like they're like, the Avengers are gonna get fucked up. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. But I just feel like this movie. I'm not 100% sure what this movie was trying to say. Right? We have the whole scene with Elizabeth Taylor and them getting invited to that party. And at first he's getting denied, and then he speaks to the people in French, so they understand that this is an educated Black guy. You ain't gonna just pull one over me. But at the same time, it's like, why do you want to? Once you saw the other crew that's been antagonizing him there, like it's kind of like, oh, this isn't special anymore. She just invited all these soldiers to this party.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I was kind of like, I would have left after that, but then they get in a fight, and then he tells Tom, don't fight my battles for me, blah blah blah. I was just kind of like, this is so by the book of like these standard like race relation biopics that it kind of frustrated me. It's like this story feels like it needs to be a little less generic than what we traditionally get from this stuff. Like with this kind of budget, like with the budget was UVS research $90 million. Like give us some real meaty shit. Don't give us a by the numbers action war biopic that doesn't actually tell us about these people. Like even Tom, who survives and gets the Medal of Honor for trying to save Jesse, we don't really know much about them except that their families, stayed in touch and stuff like that after the war and everything. It's very frustrating. I actually learned more about the plane, the crosshairs, than I did about what motivated Jesse and Tom.
Yeah,
what was driving them. Obviously Jesse says like, I wanted to be where the best pilots were, and that's the Navy. But that's one quick line in a 132-minute movie.
Yeah. And like everything that you said is completely valid. Like and it makes sense. I do feel like this was a little bit it was a bit too cookie cutter.
Yes, it felt like it.
Yeah,
it felt neutered in a way. It felt neutered in a way because it wasn't the intensity of Jonathan Majors, especially in those bathroom scenes when he's talking to himself in that crazy voice with like all the venom that's been spit at him. Like the whole movie should have felt like that. It should have been like this really intense, uncomfortable kind of thing. And then, but I think maybe because he does die, they were like, let's try to make this as light as possible.
Well, you know what? In actuality, I think the way to have gone with this film is to have Jesse be someone who's hard to get along with, really
Mm.
hard to get along with, because he's been
They
a part
hinted
of.
at that a little bit with his
Yeah.
interactions at the beginning with Tom, but then he got along with the other guys. So it's kind of like, what's going on here?
Well, like, it's hard for him to trust people. And it's like, yeah, but like, and like you said, they hinted at it.
Yeah.
But like, make him be that guy who you're just like, is like, it's like, yo, I just can't get a beat on this guy. He's just not nice. He's not warming up or anything until, like, yeah, that guy dies and he opens up a little bit and he's just like, well, and then it's also, I think he took that more to heart, which again, I don't think was necessarily really portrayed enough in this script, because he's like, I was trying to teach him how you need to go off of instincts and you can't fully trust them all the time. And so he kind of feels, a little bit responsible for him crashing.
Yeah.
The pilot crashing, on the way into land. So like, it's, like, there were a few things that need to be explored a little bit deeper, which would have made this put it like this movie, if it were done differently, I think you could have had an Oscar performance out of this.
Mm. Yep. Or edited it differently, because there might have been one. They just got on the cutting floor. I learned a lot about editing. Like, movies are shaped in the editing room. It's not just like, the script and then what's shot on film. Like, because you could get a completely different movie. That's what's such interesting about David Ayer, recently about the Suicide Squad. He's like, it's possible to get two completely different movies from the same footage. And that's exactly what happened with my movie.
Yeah.
So who knows?
So like, like, if they gave us something a little bit different, we could have got something that's far more like, we could have got like an Oscar worthy movie, out of this. And it's like, and like, that's one of the reasons, and I've said it, on the podcast, like, I love war movies. Like, things like that. Cause like I think that war movies give us a true look into the psyche of men. And like, man, I mean, like, just human beings, right?
Yep.
Because your true motivations, who you are as a person comes out of you. And like, because this, like, if somebody's a monster, fucking if you put them in a war situation, that monster's coming and you're going to know that they're a full-on monster. They always were. If someone's a valiant man, same thing. And like, that's why you find a lot of Oscar contenders coming out of movies like this, because it's speaking to the most basic instinct of the human psyche. And like, for this story specifically, and I wanted to see it because I was just like, oh, this could be really dope. And like, I did feel a little bit underwhelmed, because I feel like they didn't go into the places where they needed to go to really tell this story to its full extent. But at the same time, you also have you have fucking Glenn Powell in this movie, which is, it's so like, it has to be about his character as well. It's not just about Jonathan Majors' character, not just about Jesse Brown. So like, that's going to change things.
And I think that was to the detriment of the movie a little bit, because for me, I was telling Tatiana, because she hasn't seen Top Gun Maverick yet. I'm like, Glenn Powell in Top Gun Maverick was a perfect new Iceman to an extent.
Yeah.
He was kind of like Iceman, but like, instead of Iceman having a legit beef against Maverick, he was just a dick to Miles Teller's character.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, in this, they're giving him a little bit more to do as an actor. But for me, the emotional scenes with him, especially like when he's supposed to get emotional about Jesse and stuff, they didn't quite hit. They cut away before he could actually make real tears and stuff like that. Like, it just kind of like, you're editing around this performance, right?
Well, but also just the fact is like, so in real life, when Tom Hudner, when he went down, he got fucked up in his crash as well.
Yeah, he has a limp after, like, it looked like.
Yeah. So like, and I think like, I don't know how much flying he did after that, but like, then he got the Medal of Valor and things like that, and he did different things with the VA. So like, his career kind of changed after this.
Well, I imagine, like, based on what we talked about with the lack of safety equipment in these planes, I imagine if you crash, you're guaranteed to at least have some broken limbs, if not be permanently fucked up.
Yeah. So
So that makes sense because he purposely crashes his plane so he can try to help Jesse.
Yeah. So like, with all of this, you're taking all of that into account. It's just like there were opportunities there to even bolster his character, but they weren't used. So like, I think it had to be time, editing or a script. Like they just didn't know how to navigate these two waters between these two gentlemen, to make a cohesive movie. But it just sucks because I feel like we could have gotten a lot more out of this film, if they kind of needed to tell the story different, and they needed to kind of focus a lot on Jesse up top, and then bring in Tom's character, and really then bond a relationship together. But like without that ground floor, it kind of gets lost a bit.
It does, and it also really toes the line between being a white savior movie, almost. Even though Jesse dies, I was like, this is because when Glenn Powell got crashed and like was trying to like save him, I was like, this is gonna be like, this is feeling very white saviory. That's why I was so surprised. Well, then I like looked it up. I'm like, oh wait, no, he is gonna die. What have you? I mean, that was also sad too. But like when he looks over and like he says like, "Tell my wife how much I love her," and then he's dead. Like he literally like looks back towards the helicopter, looks back, and Jesse's gone. I'm like, fuck. And then what really was heartbreaking is when they said that they couldn't retrieve the body because they had to destroy the planes before the enemy found them.
Yeah,
because they're constantly trying to put out the fire on Jesse's plane so it doesn't alert the Koreans and stuff. And so
the Chinese, actually, I believe.
Well, he was in North Korea though, right?
Yes, they were in North Korea.
Yeah, but that was rough. We do have a few quick trivia points that you found. The U.S. Navy named the ship in honor of Ensign Jesse L. Brown. The USS Jesse L. Brown FF 1089. It was Knox class, commissioned February 17, 1973, but decommissioned in July 27th, 1994. And there were 6 actual Corsair planes that were used in the movie. Many of the flying scenes used the Sea Fury plane for close-up flying sequences, according to the executive producer Glenn Powell. And then, unlike Powell's previous naval aviation-based film, Top Gun Maverick, most of the flying scenes in the movie were done using CGI, as the jets featured in the film are currently decommissioned. You can kind of tell there's some green screen stuff that was pretty obvious. And then the Medal of Honor that Glenn Powell was wearing towards the end of the film is the actual Medal of Honor that was awarded and worn by Tom Hutner Jr.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So before we get to some Patriot thoughts and our also review on the movie, Yuvia did find some IMDb reviews that she thought would be worthy of speaking to share. This first one's from Libby Riggin, 10 out of 10. The subject line reads, "Awesome. This movie is perfect for the whole family. I believe this is better than Top Gun. The acting was outstanding and film was amazing. The movie was well written and had action and portrayed a wholesome family life." This sounds like a white person that's trying to be like, the blacks were pretty good in this one. The movie brought out the true characters and how difficult it was to deal with the reality of war. I also believe this movie would inspire young people to go after their dreams, even if the price is high. You mean the price is your life? Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
The movie brought out integrity, love of the family unit. This is a great movie. Children 7 to 99 would enjoy this very much. That's not how children work. History is so important. It gives hope to everyone. 10 out of 10 stars. All right. Sure.
So basically, what that review was, it's like, hey, they didn't talk about race stuff. And and even though it was based in the 50s, it wasn't heavy on race. And that makes me feel good. So this is a good family movie that I could show white kids and they don't feel bad about themselves. 5 stars. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, bro. You missed the mark.
The other IMDb review that you found says, "Good story, but slow movie." Bought by Jaws Solonzo. Sure. "I enjoy learning the story of Jesse Brown's life, but this movie was very slow. I feel like they could have gotten this down to an hour and 42 minutes. It felt like a lot of unnecessary downtime and didn't have as much action as I expected. It just felt like the surprise at a colored pilot was overused. While I'm sure it was the case in real life. The characters were very forgettable, and while I like Jonathan Majors, I didn't really connect with Jesse Brown. I feel like he mumbled a lot, and I missed much of what he was saying. My kids, 8 and 11, asked multiple times when it would be over, and they sat perfectly still during all 2 hours and 40 plus minutes of Wakanda Forever. I kept looking at my watch too. It wasn't horrible, but could have been shorter and better. 6 out of 10 stars.
I mean, okay. I guess that one's a little bit more fair.
It's kind of saying what we're saying. It's just like
Yeah.
a little less,
Eloquent.
yeah. I mean, we're not eloquent.
Yeah,
Either,
neither are we. But like,
we call this you call this naval hero a nigga, so we ain't very elegant.
Well,
You know
I mean, that's what they were calling them back then too.
That's true. That is very true.
That's not something he hasn't heard.
You know what they doing, no. In the chat, I'd be remiss not to mention this. Yuvia in a follow-up story says, I think her partner Spencer's grandfather did have some injury, like a piece of metal stuck inside of him somewhere. He ended up getting dysentery when he was stranded. Dysentery.
Dysentery.
When he was stranded on the island. After he recovered, he couldn't fly anymore and got transferred to the army. Yeah, that's rough. My great uncle got shot in the ass in Vietnam. I don't think he got dysentery, but he couldn't shit comfortably for a while, probably.
Oh God! Oh no, Brandon!
You didn't have any family injuries from the wars?
No, my grandfather fought in World War II.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, he was on the he was on the Normandy and all that kind of stuff. But like, other than that, I don't know if he had, I mean, because he also died before I was born. Yeah. But like his claim to fame is the fact is like in the military, he was Joe Lewis's sparring partner.
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty cool. But other than that, he didn't get dysentery.
God, never gonna live that down now. Oh geez. We did get some Patriot thoughts on devotion, and remember, folks, if you sign up for Patreon at patreon.com/mediumpopcorn, you are guaranteed to have your thoughts and reviews read on that episode. So first up, we have CJ Jones, not CG. You're not a CGI character. He is seriously must watch. Every film he has done in the last 30 years has been almost elite. I agree with that. Jonathan Majors has been bringing his A game for a lot of stuff, and some stuff that doesn't quite deserve it. Yeah. And then Ali Johnson, who constantly joins us live on the Zooms. And folks, remember, if you sign up for patreon.com, you get access to our live recordings that we do via Zoom, since I'm in LA, Justin's in New York. And so you get to get a little sneak preview of the stuff we talk about. So Ali wrote, it's a decent character piece. Jonathan Majors is great at giving you emotional scenes and connecting with the audience. I feel like this would have been a role Chadwick would have taken if he was here. Good to see Jonathan Majors still taking these roles and promoting Black excellence. Some scenes lagged, but it's a medium popcorn. I mean, that is true, dude. I mean, I think Jonathan Majors really is filling that void that Chadwick probably could have had. Well, he did have, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just good to see a Black actor that's doing a lot of different stuff. Clearly doing well financially, so hopefully he can put that back into his community and stuff like that. Man, it would have been fucking. I love Jonathan Majors and what he's been doing, but imagine Creed 3 with Chadwick instead of Jonathan Majors, having that Killmonger, T'Challa, mash up again. That would have been incredible. That the marketing of that just would sell itself.
Yeah, well,
you wouldn't have to put the name of the movie. You just show those two, just in boxing outfits. You just be like, oh, well, I'm going to see that.
And then you know what? And then also just the fact is that Chadwick and Michael B. Jordan do had a relationship, outside. So like that, they could have gotten a lot out of that film. And again, this is nothing against Jonathan Majors, or downplaying him as an actor or performer or anything.
We just miss Chadwick. Yeah, we just miss Chadwick. Man. Yeah, I mean, you saw the whole thing with Angela Bassett's son doing that, fake death prank on her about Michael B. Jordan.
No.
So there's this trend that was happening with the youngins. I think it's a TikTok trend where they were telling their family members that celebrities were dying. Mm-hmm. And Angela Bassett's son did that regarding Michael B. Jordan. and they fucked him up. They whooped the boy to the white meat.
How old is that boy?
I don't know. I think he might be 16, 17.
Yeah, that ain't funny. He should of all people, he should
of
know
all
better.
people, exactly.
He should know better.
People. Yeah. He ain't getting into college, that's for sure. Especially a black college, they ain't not going to admit him. For sure.
It's like, he comes since I was like, you know what? I gotta say that was a wonderful college interview, and like I really think that you could be an asset to this university. But we saw the TikTok video, and we're gonna say no, because nigga, you should know better. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, unless his mom and dad are willing to go to that university every month and give a special seminar free to the students, he ain't getting into no school. But unless he changes his name.
Yeah, that ain't fucking it, bro.
Yeah.
You gotta get goddamn Jesus fucking Christ.
Justin, break down our rating system, baby.
Stop calling me baby. So, guys, we rank movies bags of popcorn, small, medium, large, and the XL for the exceptional. If a film doesn't deserve any popcorn, we throw it into the dog shit pile. We pile piles and piles of dog shit on top of it. So, Brandon, we sat down and watched the 2022 film Devotion, starring Jonathan Majors, Glenn Powell, Christina Jackson, and Joe Jonas as well. What say you, sir?
Well. Yeah, man. Unfortunately, this gets a small. I definitely, I was both underwhelmed and unsatisfied. Outside of like Jonathan Majors' solid performance, I really wanted more. Like I had to do my own research and stuff. And shout out to Ali, who's in the chat rocking a Wakanda jacket. That's fire, bro.
Like it.
Yeah, I just wanted more out of this, and the fact that I had to do my own research, which is fine. I should be doing my own research, just shows how little information there really was in this story. Yeah. It didn't service both either Jesse or Tom's legacies and biographies. We learned nothing about these guys.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you anything. Like I said, the only real development we got about Jesse was through his wife Daisy, and that's a weird way to give us information about.
And she wasn't in the film. She wasn't in the film enough to really warrant.
No more than 6 minutes total screen time, I would say, if that. Justin, what's your rating?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a small as well. And to many,
this could have been a contender.
Yeah, like many of the points that you made, but like for me, it was more at the point like I felt it wasn't as satisfying as it should have been, and I felt like they could have given us more, which would have been, like I said earlier, this could have been an Oscar contender, but like I think they just didn't go deep enough. Nope. To make these characters worthwhile to the point where you were just like, you needed to see this film. They just, we needed to get more Jesse, which would then gave more context to his plight. To his plight, and also his relationship with Tom.
Yep.
And why that bond was so special.
Man,
if you're watching, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say what you will about Green Book. I know there's a lot of problems with it, but from probably 40 minutes in, I was like, I buy this relationship. I buy this friendship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's ways to do that where you can get like, okay, this is why. Because even when he would say stuff like, be my wingman, I didn't buy that that Glenn Powell was processing what he's asking of him.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I want to follow him and figure out what's going on in his head right now as to, does he understand what Jonathan Majors is asking of him? Or is he still going like, oh, he's just being dramatic. Like, this isn't that big of a deal. Like, you
exactly.
know what I
mean? And like, for people just taking its face value, when he says, be my wingman, he doesn't mean just, hey, be my wingman. It's just like, yo, I need you to be on my side at all times. And I need you to think about what you're doing and how that's really going to affect me. So it's just like, I need you to actively be willing, be putting yourself on the line for me, is like at all times, the way that we are in war. Like that's like that line should have hit a lot harder. And like, because without the context that we didn't get, I feel there's things that are lost.
Oh yeah, definitely. But you know what's not lost, folks? Media popcorn greatness. So please go over there, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts so we can rate on the show. Leave us a voicemail at 347-508-0978. Or push that subscribe button at youtube.com/medium popcorn so you get alert about all future interviews and reviews of that just add to our content. And remember, folks, you can follow me at American Collins on all social media platforms, AmericanCollins.com. And if you're in New York on Thursday, February 23rd, come check out Drunk Black History. We're at the Bell House in Brooklyn. We also have live stream tickets if you're not in the New York area. All that stuff's available at drunkblackhistory.com. And then, Justin, if people want to support the show financially, what can they do, my brother? As well as follow you on social media.
Guys, if you want to follow me on the socials, Jay Brown did it. That's where I'm at. That's who I be. And that's what I did. But if you want to support this show, guys, you know where it's at, patreon.com/medium popcorn. We have $2, $5, $10, $15 packages. So much bonus content. Our entire backlog of our episodes go there. You guys need to understand that, like, we put so much work into our Patreon to make sure that, you know, people are getting their money's worth. And we just you know, really enjoy the fact that you guys enjoy this show, and we want to make it better. So, you know, if you guys want to help us, which in turn helps the show, patreon.com/medium popcorn. But you can also buy swag at tpublic.com/medium popcorn. You know, buy a shirt, a mug, a sticker. It doesn't matter. Everything helps grow and make this show exactly what it is. But also, just know, Drunk Black History, February 23rd. You guys got to get your tickets. Also, that is the King's birthday, Mr. Justin Brown. So if you'd like to send a wonderful gift to Justin, you can do that at Jay Brown Did It on Venmo. No, guys, yeah,
send him some money, yo. Like, for real, but like, sign up for Patreon, because patreon.com is like, it just shows us that you're fucking with the show, that you like what we're doing, and we're really trying to, you know, constantly push the show forward, improve it, especially once, you know, we get back together in New York in person and stuff like that. So patreon.com. And there's also a trial for our $2 tier. So if you want to just try it out for a few days, see what, you know, what kind of stuff you post on Patreon, that's a good way for you to get started on your medium popcorn fix.
Indeed. And guys, just know that, like, as you know, with our Patreon money, like, we're reinvesting in the show. And you know, and it allows us, you know, like, you know, Brandon hitting all his contacts, you know, bringing you know, these great guests on, you know, the people I just meet on a regular basis, you know, like, we're always, you know, pushing back into the show, and like, Patreon is the way that, you know, we do that. So, you know, we're not just, you know, living you know, a grand life. This is work for us.
I mean, we hope eventually we could get to that where we can live a grand life doing this stuff. But you know, we need a few 10,000 Patreon subscribers to get to that.
Yeah, right.
You know, but there's some shows that are just talking about farting and eating garbage that are making that kind of money. So folks, help us out. We actually put in we do the work. But thank you as always to folks like Ali who join us live when we're recording Zooms. That's another perk of signing up for Patreon. You get to join us via Zoom when we do these live recordings. But folks, we hope you enjoyed this mini episode, and we will talk to you soon.
Peace out.
Peace.